Last night I treated my wife Anna like a queen. We've been going through a rough patch lately, so I thought this would be the perfect time to set things right. I took the day off work, ostensibly to take our 2 kids, Jake, 14, and Lily, 12, to a week. I also made sure everything was perfect for the long soccer camp. I started by sending 24 long-stemmed red roses to Anna at her work. I wrote the note myself. I figured the roses would show my love for her, and the note would explain my plans for tonight. Dinner was on me, and I told her she could have seconds and thirds. I know it wasn't Shakespeare, but I figured it would do the trick. I was right. I got a very passionate kiss at the front door, plus a report on how jealous her coworkers were. The workers were Anna, who fixed me with a lusty gaze. I'd say you're in for a very lucky night. I took charge immediately and corrected her, this night is all about you. Step 2 was to draw my love a steamy bubble bath, complete with a glass of perfectly chilled Chardonnay. I told her to take her time while I got dinner ready. I wasn't cooking, though. I simply drove to her favorite Italian place and picked up dinner for 2. I popped it into the oven upon my return. I just finished setting the table when I heard Anna behind me. You are a naughty boy, I turned. Anna was wearing everything I bought today. The bra and panty set, the garter stockings and the shoes, the red stilettos that screamed screw me. She had no idea just how naughty I planned on being. After dinner and lots of wine, I led her to our bedroom, and she followed. She was happy to help as I slowly undressed her, laying her on the bed. I kissed her neck and made her squirm beneath me. Basically, I teased her with foreplay, moving around her body. As soon as she got really into whatever I was doing, I took her. We had a quick break, and then had another round before we both came. We chatted for a bit, and I told her again how much I loved her. I crawled into bed next to her. I fell asleep as soon as I got into bed. I slept very soundly, waking up early the next morning. I showered and left before she knew it, leaving a note to remind her that I'd have to work late to make up for taking the day off. I had a lot on my plate today. I'm Mark Thompson, and I'm waiting for my wife, Anna, to arrive at ambush for a 304. I've been suspicious for a while that she's been cheating on me, and I think I was right. Over the past month, I'd been suspicious for 2 months before that. My suspicions were based on the little things that couples do and say to each other. The behaviors, habits, and, most importantly, the easy evasions that hint something's not quite right. For instance, there were lots of things. These things on their own seemed innocent enough, like our sex life being down while Anna was dressing sexily, which was way up. She was feeling it, but I wasn't getting it. I know, that's not much to go on. One of the main things that caught my attention and made me start to think something was going on was a night out without the kids. Anna met me at the restaurant, having come directly from work. That's when it first seemed like something might be up, because Anna had the unmistakable glow of someone who just had really good sex. It was in her eyes, her face, and particularly in the way she moved that night when I should have got lucky. She said she had a yeast infection, so I settled for a hand job and decided to find out the truth. I started checking up on her, monitoring her time away from me, checking the laundry and listening very, very carefully to everything she said. It's amazing what you pick up in common conversations when you really pay attention. I've always operated on the idea that a woman will do everything she can to avoid an outright lie. This doesn't mean you'll get the truth. You have to really listen. Think about all the different ways the words could be interpreted. There are so many possibilities and permutations. I was surprised at the subtle insinuation of disrespect in our interactions. There was an undeniable condescension. I seemed to have lost my former position in the hierarchy and equality of our relationship. It was also difficult to get a hold of her at work on Wednesday and Friday afternoons. In my mind, my suspicions had turned to certainty, but there was nothing worth going to see a lawyer about. Then I found I needed proof. I found a pair of black sheer panties that I knew were hers. I knew exactly when I last saw her wearing them. I also knew the dates of our last sexual encounter. All of this added up to infidelity. I thought there was a good chance she was guilty. I also thought it would be more difficult to confront her than I'd first thought. She'd been lying to me for a while, and I assumed she had some kind of excuse for cheating. I decided on a simple, straightforward approach. I suggested another husband. I suggested we have a just the two of us night out, reminding her that she owed me. I asked her specifically to wear the black sheer panties that night as we dressed. I reminded her about the panties, and she said she wouldn't be disappointed. Dinner was fine, as I generously poured on the attention and the wine. When we got home, Anna was as horny as I'd seen her in years. I suggested we have a little fun. I lay back against the headboard, hands behind my head, and said, "Come on, you sexy thing, show me what you've got." Anna began to sway, a little drunk, but shook her head. "You know you owe me," I said. "We haven't had sex in almost a month. It was just 2.5 weeks. But I wanted her to say that I waggled my finger at her. "We had sex the day you went on that trip. It's only been 2.5 weeks. That's fine. One fact agreed to come on, you sexy thing. Take it off." "Okay. But don't expect this every time. You take me out." I nodded my head, as Anna slowly disrobed. She unzipped her skirt, bent over, and hooked her thumbs in the material. "Hey, who's doing the striptease anyway?" She joked, but I heard the edge beneath her tone. I thought this was about pleasing me. "I want to see. What's the big deal with those?" "Mark, come on. I'm horny." "You're horny. I gave you those as an anniversary gift last year. They symbolize our marriage and our intimate bond. Come on. Humor me. Drop the skirt and let me see those panties." "I couldn't find them, Mark," she said, furious with me. "Me, they're probably in the wash. You always wash your lingerie together. Have you seen the bra? Where are the panties?" I wasn't about to let this go. "I told you I couldn't find them." She was getting annoyed, and I just got calmer and calmer. "Hey, don't get mad at me. I'm just the guy who gave them to you. I asked you to wear them for him. I just wanted to know the truth. If you had told me earlier, I wouldn't have insisted. What's so hard about that? The last time you wore them was right before my trip. I remember because you looked so sexy in them when we were getting ready for bed. You took them off. Maybe they got kicked under the bed. Mark, can we just forget about the panties for now?" I could see a glimmer of doubt in her eyes. "Can't you just make love?" "Anna, no problem at all." "Mark, I wasn't done with her yet. And I think I remember where I bought those. Mark, they really meant a lot to me." Anna, I can see that she stepped back from the bed, her desire clearly ebbing. "Mark, the last time I saw you, I remember you took them off right here in this room." I rolled off the bed and knelt beside it, lifting the sham. "You took them off before we had sex, right?" "I think you were standing right about here." "Mark, I was standing here. I took them off and we had sex. But now I'm standing here. I'm not wearing them and I'm getting a headache. I think I'll give you a rain check on the rest of the evening." Anna began to pick up her clothes. "What's the problem?" "They're just panties. No big deal. It's been 2.5 weeks since we had sex. And I make a simple request. And now I'm in trouble. Why didn't you just tell me you didn't know where the panties were? What's so hard about being honest with me? Why would you try to hide something like that?" "I don't know. I didn't want to. I'm sorry to disappoint you, but it's been a while since we've been together. We're both so busy with our careers and families. I guess I've turned what little time we have into a big problem. I'm sorry." "I'm sorry too. Well, how about we reschedule?" I smiled as I pulled out the crusty underwear and extended them. She took them, looking puzzled at first, then surprisingly confident. I thought I'd look there. She was recovering quickly, so I gave her credit. "Go ahead. Put them on. They're dirty. Mark, I'll make sure you're the first to see them after I wash them." Wash them. That's it. I had to admire her brazenness. Why is there something else we haven't had sex in 2.5 weeks? We agreed the last time you wore these you took them off before we had sex. Explain to me what they're all crushy with. I silently congratulated myself on not sounding. She gave me the cold shoulder and looked pretty accusatory. Turns out, she was lying through her teeth. We got our dates and times mixed up. She even made a big deal out of me suspecting her of seeing someone else. I was just being paranoid. She thought it was cute that I suspected her of being a crazy ex. I apologized for being jealous and for getting her dates wrong. I watched her reaction. From the way she was glowing, I'm sure she thought everything was fine. It wasn't fine. She was wrong. It wasn't nothing. And there is nothing cute about being a 304. I knew that much. My apologies turned into a white-hot quiet anger. My anger made me see things differently. I was no longer in doubt. I knew then that she was screwing someone else. As far as I was concerned, our marriage was over. I knew it, and soon. Once you're no longer in denial, you can find out a lot in a short amount of time. I wanted proof, basically, and I was willing to do whatever it took. It's amazing what modern GPS equipment can do. A tap on your phone, a bit of computer snooping, and a couple of digital voice recorders. And before you know it, you have a pretty clear picture. I got a picture of who he was, what they did, how often, and most importantly, when they planned to meet next. Her lover was some guy named Tom. They met 2 to 3 times per week, Wednesday, Friday, and frequently on Saturdays at a hotel on the other side of town. It all seemed so routine when you listened to the recordings. The biggest surprise for me was the complete lack of guilt on Anna's part in the taped conversations. I was just another thing on her schedule. That's what I thought at first. But then I realized that Anna had no concern for me, and was disrespectful to the point of being outright unkind. I went from hoping for a possible reconciliation to wanting to exact revenge. I wasn't going to fight for her. She was now the enemy. I'm going to fight her for everything. It's amazing what that kind of clarity can do for you. I can even tell you the exact moment that I reached that tipping point. It occurred in the hearing of her side of a single conversation shortly after the panty incident. A voice recorder in her car got this side of a cell phone conversation between Anna and her boyfriend. Anna was suspicious, but she's not anymore. Mark trusts me completely, you should see. He goes out of his way to be nice to me, which is really quite endearing. Anna, I just explained that the rather irate scene in the dirty underwear he'd found was his. I said that I'd been looking for weeks for those panties. I thanked him for finding them underneath the washer, and he bought it without a second thought. Anna, yes. But has my rather foolish man? Anna, yes, I do adore it. Be patient. I'm almost there. Anna, no, Tom. I've told you before I love. Mark has my husband, Anna. I love you too, but in a different way. Thankfully, I don't have to choose. I have the best of both worlds. A husband who makes love to me, and a lover who totally screws me. It's funny how you can consider things when you no longer care about the other person. The witch was going to pay big time, playing the cards you're dealt. My payback was multi-pronged. I wanted Anna to suffer short-term and long-term. I wanted to make sure that Anna would never forget her cheating. I wasn't trying to hurt Tom. I just saw him as someone who took advantage of opportunities when they arose. Our kids were a different story. I wanted to protect them from the initial impact of our family falling apart. I also wanted it to affect Anna the most. I wanted her to look into their sad faces and know that she was solely responsible. The timing was up to them. I waited for the school year to end and arranged for them to attend a week-long soccer camp at a university a couple of hours away. I also arranged for the kids to attend a long soccer camp at a university a couple of hours drive away. The camp ran from Monday to Friday. I dropped them off on Monday morning and took the time to talk with the camp directors. I explained that I was serious problems with their mother, involving faithfulness and possible drug use. I added that to get their attention. I told them I'm filing for divorce today or tomorrow depending on when she gets back. I wanted to shield the kids during the initial day of anguish. The directors were very sympathetic today. Tuesday was the day of reckoning. Anna was scheduled to meet Tom at 4 in the afternoon. I spent that day getting all my ducks in a row for the divorce papers, locks changed, bank accounts and credit cards. I made sure I got everything done today. I checked my watch again. Timing was everything. I smiled when I saw her car enter the parking lot. Operation Slap the 304 down was now operational. I called Anna's work as soon as I saw her car turn into the parking lot. I left a quick voicemail on her phone saying there was an emergency and to call me on my cell. Tom arrived a few minutes later. He was young, probably in his mid to late 20s. Any remaining doubts about my plan vanished when I saw Anna enthusiastically kiss Tom. I called her on her cell phone while she was still kissing him. She looked at her phone and did what I thought she would. She let it ring. I hung up at the start of her message. I left a voicemail and called again. I figured she would either turn her phone off or lock it in her car so she could say she didn't know why she didn't answer if I asked her later. She chose option 2 and locked the phone in her car. That's when I left a message saying there was a family emergency and that she needed to call me as soon as she could. I watched them. I went into the room and started calling and hanging up every couple of minutes. I planned on leaving dozens of missed call flags on her phone. I waited about 20 minutes, figuring they were at the very least naked, if not having sex. I drove to a spot next to Anna's car. I opened my trunk, trying to look natural in case anyone was looking in my direction. All they would see was some guy with the eye, opened the boot of his car, and saw that he'd left the inner part of a tire valve sticking out. I unscrewed it, and the air rushed out in no time at all, in less than 3 minutes. I'd left both tires on the driver's side of Anna's car flat, so I screwed the inner valves back into place. I took half a dozen roofing nails that I'd shortened to about 1 inch in length and pushed them into the thick portion of the tire. The tread on the tire looked as if she'd run over a bunch of nails. Never mind, Tom's truck got some special treatment. I wasn't looking to physically hurt Tom, but since I had the opportunity, I decided to mess with him a bit too. I borrowed a small floor jack, so I jacked up the front of his car and loosened the oil pan bolt until it was just holding on. I lowered his car, put the jack. I got everything done in 15 minutes. I drove off and waited for them to finish. They came out of the room 2 hours later, all kissed and hugged up. Anna's movements were more languid and affectionate, which was noticeable. She gets like that after sex. Her movements were anything but languid when she saw the 2 flat tires. She was gesturing and waving her arms around as she walked from front to back alongside her car. It seemed like Tom must have said something stupid because she turned and said something that had him putting his hands up in front of him as he shook his head and backed away. I called her phone and she looked in the car and fished around in her purse for her car key. I could see her flinch when she saw the number of missed calls and it was showtime. I saw her dial and prepared myself for my performance. "Hello, Mark. At work?" I was getting pretty wound up, and Anna started to make some excuse. I started talking over her, and I started crinkling some paper and changing my speech pattern. "Be quiet and listen. There's been a serious accident at the soccer camp. Both kids have been taken to the hospital. I'm on my way there now. They're in emergency surgery. The doctors aren't." "Sure, let me know if you get there first. My battery's dying. Did you get that medical center? I'll meet you there. Hurry." I hung up and turned off my phone. I could see her shouting into the phone, then she swung into action. Anna pushed Tom to his car and soon they were heading for the freeway. I waited until they were out of sight, then drove to Anna's car. I pulled the phony nails out of. I filled her tires with cans of flat fix because she was going to need her car before the end of the day. I had 2 more calls to make before I drove home, so I headed for the freeway they would be taking to get to the university. I stopped at the first emergency call box on the freeway and pulled out 2 of my voice recorders. I was soon talking to the State Highway Patrol. I lowered my voice and added a southern drawl. "Officer, I'd like to report a case of road rage. I guess you'd call it." I was going the speed limit, but this blue Ford pickup just came flying up behind me, right on my bumper. Excuse my language, officer, but I should have pulled over. Anyway, this crazy guy starts leaning on his horn, then he swings out. I was surprised he didn't hit anyone and swerved up right next to me. He almost hit me, which was bad enough. I mean, I have my wife and kids with me. Then he sped up and cut right in front of me. I got a partial plate number, just the last 3 digits, 847. My name is. I pressed the recorder. An angry female voice blared out of the speaker. "Tell them about the gun." "Harold?" "I saw a gun. That crazy guy had a gun." I turned away from the phone. "Honey, I didn't see it. I'm just telling them I pressed the second recorder so those crazy people can track us down and kill us. Hang up, Harold. Hang up right now." I disconnected the call. I'd recorded those phrases with a woman at work who had a booming southern draw. I told her it was for a practical joke on my shiftless brother-in-law. She gave me half a dozen takes without batting an eye. I got back in my car and headed home. On the way, I called the soccer camp people. I told them that telling my wife I was divorcing her hadn't gone well. I said she'd gone ballistic and threatened my life. I warned them that she and her lover might be on the way there to try and take the children. I told them I was just calling to be certain that they wouldn't release the children to her. My wife's lover was a known drug user, so it wasn't a safe situation for the kids. The camp operators were very understanding. I asked them not to say anything to the kids unless it was absolutely necessary. An hour or so later, I was sitting at home eating pizza and drinking beer. I figured I had at least 1 more hour before Anna might show up. That would be the case if she was able to contact the soccer camp and determine that the kids were fine. I didn't think that was likely, though, as I had made all the arrangements. She didn't even know the camp's name or phone number. If she got to the university, she'd find out there wasn't a university medical center or hospital. I had to smile at that. If the oil drain plug had fallen out, she and Tom would have been sitting by the side of the road a couple of hours later. The camp called to say Anna and a male companion had shown up. They arrived with the state police. The police had pulled them over they were pulled over and searched, and it seemed like they were looking for weapons. I heard that there was a report of road rage. The camp officials told her that the kids were fine, but that they had refused to let Anna see them unless it was in the presence of their father. She asked them what that was supposed to mean. That's when one of the camp people mentioned the impending divorce and asked if the man she was with was her husband or her lover. She went white as a sheet and then started to cry. The police had to escort Anna and Tom off the campus grounds. Then, the soccer camp folks made my day. I couldn't have planned this part while Anna and Tom were talking. One of the staff mentioned the drug user reference to the police. They pulled Tom over just after they left the again. Evidently, Tom got angry and got into it with one of the officers. They arrested him for driving while impaired. Anna was deemed unfit to drive due to her emotional state and was I was also taken into temporary custody. After speaking with the camp folks, I got a call from the state police. I had a nice chat with Sergeant Watson. I told him my wife had been cheating on me and that I'd finally had enough. Anna found out this afternoon that I'd seen a lawyer and filed for divorce. I gave Sergeant Watson my lawyer's number. He asked if I'd stay available so he could talk to my wife. I said sure, but don't be surprised if she denies everything. I even said it was fine with me if they wanted to take a vaginal swab. He said no a few minutes later and called back. They were releasing Anna and that my wife wanted to talk with me. I told the sergeant that she was free to call my lawyer at the number I had provided. He laughed a little when he asked if I was coming to pick Anna up. I told them that her car was in the parking lot of the motel where she'd been screwing her lover. He laughed a little at that. 10 minutes later the phone rang. I saw Anna's number on the caller ID, so I picked up. I didn't say anything, and after a long pause I heard a breath and a trembling voice. "Mark, I don't know what you think is going on, but please don't make this any worse than it is. Your adultery has destroyed our family. You idiot." 304. I hung up and turned the ringer off. I would have loved to see her face when she heard the new answering message on the machine. "Hi, this is Mark. Anna no longer lives here. Her cell number is." It was 2 when I got up in the morning. I heard someone at the front door. I went to see who it was and found out that Anna had left her things in the driveway and had packed her bags. She'd also left a note saying that she was leaving Mark. When I read it, I could tell that she was really upset. "There's been a terrible misunderstanding. We need to talk. I love you, Mark. Please let me in." We went back and forth, but I didn't budge. Finally, I replayed part of a phone conversation I ID taped when she was driving in her car. She was talking to Tom and saying how much she loved having sex with him. I turned the volume up loud when it came to the part of their conversation about sex made Anna cry. I told her to get her stuff and go stay with her lover or whoever else she was screwing. She finally left, saying she was going to her parents and would be back the next day to sort everything out. The next day didn't quite work out the way she intended. The days that followed were pretty intense. I was relentless and unmerciful. I had officially served at work on Thursday, and that little stunt had her waiting by my car at the end of the workday. She was furious. I was pretty pleased with my ability to remain calm. "Don't you dare talk. I can't believe you had me served at work. Do you have any idea what you've done?" She was as angry as I've ever seen. "What I've done? I'll talk to you however I choose. Would you prefer to work through this? I love you, Mark. Let's stop this silliness. You're being ridiculous. If I give you $20, will you go away? I am your wife, Mark. I am the mother of our children. They're going to be coming home tomorrow and they're going to find just me. I imagine you'll be on your back somewhere with your lover, Mark. Please stop. Name calling isn't going to help us. We need to talk about this. I know you're angry and upset, but we can work through this. Mark, our marriage can be stronger for it. Would you listen to yourself? Stop calling me names. Mark, answer me this." I glared at her with intensity of hatred that surprised you chose to be with another man. You stripped naked before him. You gave him an Aussie kiss and let him screw you. By doing this you risked everything. Our marriage, our family, my love and respect for you, my health. I've been tested and I'm clean so far. So HIV testing is a 6 months wait. She paled at that comment. You risked everything. What did your lover risk? No, it's not like that, Mark. You risked everything. He risked nothing. What did you get? Tell me what you got. You're about to lose everything. Anna, what did you get from your lover? What did you get for throwing all of this away? She just shook her head, unable to speak. That's exactly right. You got nothing. You didn't get anything. No jewelry, no trips to romantic locations, no cars, no secret bank account, no suitcase full of money, nothing. You got nothing. You're right about one thing though. I have absolutely no right to call you a stupid 304. A 304 is smart enough to get something for SX. You screwed another man for which you got nothing. Now you're going to lose everything. You're not even smart enough to be a decent 304. Calling you a 304 is giving 304 seconds a bad name. I guess that just makes you a really dumb DB. I drove away with her sitting on the ground sobbing uncontrollably. Screw her. I cashed in my chips. I arrived at the lawyer's office right on time. I had even stopped by the house to shower and dress in a suit. I wanted her to see me at my. I sat opposite her in the lawyer's office. If I cared for her in any way, the look that Anna gave me should have made me feel awful. She was in pain. I kept my expression calm and impassive. I was determined to get through this. She tried one last time to put off the inevitable. I looked at my watch, then back at Anna. Her shoulders slumped. She picked up the pen. I asked my lawyer where to sign. I was already celebrating. The first document she signed was the petition for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. At one time, I had cared deeply that the cause be listed as adultery. I was fortunate to have a lawyer who really knew how to make it heard, the keys she had told me again and again. The terms and conditions of the divorce success was determined by knowing what the other side wanted and what you could force them to give up in return. The whole signing process was literally a performance my lawyer and I had choreographed. There were props and characters involved, and it was really quite impressive. The next document was a name change request. Anna was being required to, if you think that's not a big deal, think again. She was no longer going to have the same last name as her children. That point almost sank the agreement. I watched as Anna relinquished my surname, tears trickling down her cheeks. A small black tray was placed before her. This time when Anna looked at me, her expression seemed hollowed out. Then it hit me. I actually felt a twinge of sympathy for her. It wasn't just that she was losing out. It was more than that. The realization of loss was being overwhelmed by the actual reality of surrender. Her losses were suddenly real. These were not negotiating points anymore. She looked at the tray and shuddered as she removed her wedding ring. As soon as she placed it on the tray, it was quickly removed from the room. I twisted her engagement ring on her finger. I let her keep it, but even that small victory was about to turn to ashes. Do you know why I'm letting you keep that ring, Anna? I gave you that ring when I asked you to be my wife. I want you to keep that ring to remember all that we promised and all that you've thrown away. I took my wedding band off my finger and pushed it towards her. You can have this back. It's still whole and complete. I kept my promises, one of which was to my lawyer's assistant. Anna came back with the tray. Her ring had been cut in two. I picked up the pieces and held them in my open hand, then tossed them into a trash can. They were worthless. Anna seemed to waver in her chair and reached out to grip the table. Her head was bobbing slightly. My thrill of victory was beginning to fade. I actually began to feel sorry for her as the next document was placed before her. It was a quitclaim deed for her share of the house. The key here was that the monetary value of her share was being put in a college trust for the children with her as trustee until they came of age. The share was being put in a college trust for the children with her as trustee until they came of age. Finally we came to the document that had led to her accepting everything that had preceded it, the custody agreement. My lawyer spoke clearly, asking if she fully understood the conditions of this custody agreement. The children would remain in the house while the parents would alternate living in the house on a weekly basis. The transition of custody to AOR would take place every Sunday between the hours of 6 and 7 p.m. All costs will be shared equally until the children complete college or reach adulthood. If you agree to these terms, just sign at the bottom. I watched my son Toby, my wife, sign the pen, but she didn't put much effort into it. She started to cry. It was a sad sight to see. I'd been one step ahead of Anna from the moment she left the motel room with Tom. My position hadn't changed. I wanted a divorce and to have control of the kids. I guess she thought she could find a way around all this. I had a couple of things going. For me, the kids were the most important thing. I'd gone to a lot of trouble to protect them and make sure that Anna and her parents could see them. I also promised not to tell the kids what their mother had done that led to our divorce. I put it in terms of, your mom and dad are parting as partners, not as parents. The other thing was the threat of revealing and releasing. I also had video evidence of Anna and Tom.